So we want.
Well, it is June 1st. Happy Pride, Melissa.
Happy Pride, Chris.
It's exciting. Anything goes, our usual theme song. We didn't want to change it today. It's kind of cool. It's kind of becoming our thing for Out Cincinnati.
That's right. Anything goes at Out Cincinnati.
And for Pride Month, especially all the different Pride festivals that are coming up. We are going to be talking so much Pride stuff for Middletown Pride, Cincinnati Pride, lots in store. You're listening to Out Cincinnati on 91.7 FM, HD2 WVXU, and anytime at outcincinnati.com. I want to start off Pride Month, Melissa, if it's okay with you. I have a little bit of a complaining session, a bitch session, if you will. So I needed to acquire some Pride-related items like a bracelet or some streamers.
Some swag.
Some Pride. That's right, some Pride.
Some merch.
Right, like, stuff with rainbows on it.
Right.
Right. So I know that Target has a wonderful Pride selection. So I called up my local Target next to where I live, and guess what?
What?
This location is not set to have one.
Why?
I don't know. So I called the one, because they're 10 minutes apart, right, Targets. I called the one down the road, and I said, so this one is a little more in town, if you will. And I called and I said, so what about your Pride section? Oh, this store's not going to have
none there either. No,
none there either. And so they told me one store, I think New Richmond, somewhere around there. The point is, my takeaway was one store will have a physical Pride section, and I think the Pride section is like at the front of the store where all those little dollars.
And why that one?
Why that one? I don't know. Maybe because according to the algorithm. See, the whole thing is, I don't know a lot because I was bored on Saturday. I was looking this up. I called the media relations line at Target, and of course nobody answered on a Saturday, but I left a message with my phone number, and I said, call me.
Right.
Let us talk about why we can't have this in every Target store in the greater Cincinnati area.
Or at least more than one.
At least more than one, so I don't have to drive. I mean, New Richmond, love ya, but...
Because there is people who would be interested in purchasing those items because it's Pride Month.
And I do have a friend who works at a Target in Cincinnati, or in greater Cincinnati, and I said to her, where is, because I asked her too, where is the Pride section, when is your store going to have it? And she was like, well, it's online. And I was like, that's such a millennial answer.
Yeah, well, they do have less. I mean, the stores are getting smaller, but
just from an old man standpoint. And this is Out Cincinnati, by the way, at outcincinnati.com. I want to say that, say your mom or dad is going to a function and they know that the cousin is LGBT plus.
Right.
And without being a jerk about it, they want to get like a rainbow bowl or a rainbow wristband just to show a little solidarity, and maybe like, here, cousin, here's nephew, here's a bracelet for you. I went down to the Target and got it.
Right.
So
a friendly gesture.
Let's go buy some hats and some cups.
Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate Pride.
Because I love Target.
And because we love rainbows.
And I love rainbows, and I love Target. And if I have a potato salad that's starting to cry in the car, I really need a rainbow bowl to stick that in.
Yes, you do.
So I can be ready for the picnic and come correct. So, Target, I want to hear from you as far as this Pride section goes, because I need to go on the website now and place my order for, Cincinnati Pride coming up on June 22nd and Middletown the day before that.
And we have all of those listed on our Facebook events page, I believe.
Yes, and always at outcincinnati.com. All
yes.
of that's linked together. If there's ever a doubt, email Melissa. Cincinnati.
Or email us at outcincinnati@gmail.com.
Right. For more information, you can get in touch there. Just a little gripe. This is Pride Month. I want to be full of happiness and everything, but, there are other places that sell rainbow stuff too.
Yeah, I think you'll find several places that will.
Some with dollar in the name.
Yeah, I mean,
there's rainbow. I can make a party look gay at Dollar Tree. Okay, so that's what I'm saying is about, and I was there the other day, and I'm like, I'm gonna hold out.
So what is the best place? So like, what is your favorite place to get your Pride merchandise?
Well, as a consumer right now,
Do you go online or do you go shopping, or?
if I have time, I go online. How about you?
I like online for some things, but I'm still a person that likes to actually go to the store. I like to check it out,
Right.
kind of look at it.
Put it in your hands.
Yeah. Is this worth my dollar?
Is it worth right? And I will go online and if I have time and think about it in advance. But on a Saturday of Pride on my way, if I'm hanging out of the tank top a little bit, I need to get something to reel that in, like a lei or some kind of colorful thing, which I can totally achieve at Dollar Tree.
Yes.
But I would rather give.
I love Dollar Tree.
To a wholesome. I mean, not that Dollar Tree's not wholesome, but I know Target has a Pride section.
Right.
So that was my first. Hey, that marketing worked.
And maybe it might be like higher end merchandise, perhaps, than Dollar Tree carries. Not
right.
Too.
But I'm okay with. I know what I'm getting when I go to Dollar Tree too. I know not what I'm getting, but I know that it's not going to be high end face cream.
Right.
I mean, if it is, then they sell it. That's great. But it's like
bargain on sale for something.
Right. But the whole point is.
Pride, but that's cool. If
Dollar Tree had a Pride section, I'd go to it too.
Right.
And Target's. I just want to know why Target doesn't have one.
I don't know. Well, more than one store.
More than one store in Cincinnati. We will have more in mere minutes on Out Cincinnati on 91.7 FM, HD2 WVXU, and anytime at outcincinnati.com.
Coming up on Out Cincinnati, we have legendary singer Judy Collins. Note to our listeners, the segment with Miss Collins contains an intimate discussion about suicide and suicide prevention.
You're listening to Out Cincinnati on 91.7 WVXU HD2 and streaming live at radioartifact.com. Singer, songwriter, activist Judy Collins. Hello, how are you today?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm very much looking forward to your concert tonight at Memorial Hall in Cincinnati. I have my tickets. I'm just...
Oh.
I'm so excited to see you perform. I have followed you personally, and just for me, I'm a fan, and it's such a thrill to talk to you.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm glad you're coming to the show.
And if folks can get information about that show, memorialhallotr.com, and that's this evening. I want to ask you the song Dreamers, and I know you're asked a lot about it. How did that come about, and what's been the actual reaction? Folks love it, but what have you heard people say?
Oh, my. Well, it's a strong subject for all of us. And as far as my own audiences go, of course, they're excited to hear something that deals with immigration right now, today, as this horror show is going on. I don't know what's wrong with people in Congress, honestly. I don't know that our immigration laws have been updated and sorted out and cleaned up in a long time. I was listening to something recently which was talking about the immigration laws of 1924, and they're sort of horrifying. For a while, we refused to accept anybody from Baltic or Northern European countries. It was screwy. And, of course, it's screwy now. Of course, we know what the immigration subject means. It means that every one of us is an immigrant in one way or another, except maybe the American Indians, and I'm not so sure about them. But
right, I've heard you say that before. Where the jury's still out on them. I mean,
the jury is out.
It's horrible to say it that way, but we all.
Oh, they came, according to my last exposure to the big PBS exploration that was on about the immigration over the Bering Straits many, many, many centuries ago. According to them, the DNA of American Indians, or whatever they want to be called, I'm not sure, Native Americans, I'm not sure, it includes exclusively the DNA from that journey from wherever they were. Maybe they were in Russia. And in any case, it's disturbing to me, the whole question, because we're immigrants. And we're a country of immigrants. Our industry is built by immigrants. Our whole community of ideas and ideals. So
it's like my father was born in Canada. Does that make me any less kind of thing? I don't know. Does it?
Well, no, and they all came in from England or Scotland or Ireland or perhaps Norway or something. They came. Some of my relatives came in through England, but the rest came in through Ireland and through England and Ireland and Scotland and so on.
I mean, the song "Dreamers" just that gets right to it. So what has been the reaction from when you?
Well, people when I sing it in concert, first of all, it goes dead quiet, and then when I'm finished, there's this long silence. And then everybody in the hall stands up and screams and yells and claps. And I hope that means they're calling their congresspeople immediately, their congressmen and their senators, and telling them to get a life, get bills passed that will correct whatever it is that's going wrong.
I was wondering, well, since activism has been a big part of your career and Dreamers, and we were talking about that. How do you maintain the momentum over the years to, pardon the expression, keep fighting?
Well, I think that's part of speaking of immigration, I think that's part of our DNA. We're all responsible to take actions, and we're all responsible to see if there's something we can do. And I was raised that way, and I'm sure you were, and lots of people were. And if these young millennials think that they came by this without a fight, they're wrong, because it's their fight now, too. So I think everybody has to participate and be, in her or his own way, an activist. That's my thought.
And I think, as much as it's about music, it's about activism. And on this program on Out Cincinnati, we're speaking to Miss Judy Collins. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to know, activism and music go together. How do you tell, you said millennials, how do you tell young people in 2019 how do you tell them to get involved? Do you just take the first step? What do you say?
Yeah, I think that's right. Take the first step. Well, first let's talk about music. I grew up and began my own career in a time when activism and music sort of went hand in hand. And I think all of us in the Great Folk Scare have had a heart and a mind towards that end. After all, the reason that we were involved in the great renewal of folk music, I think, was because of Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie, and what they were doing in their writing originally was writing songs for the Union effort. And, of course, the Union effort is terribly important, terribly important to the fact that we need to have a hand on what management does. And the working person has to have communication with and a vote for what's going on in his own life, her own life. We don't work children and anybody seven days, 25, 26 hours a day anymore. But we do a lot of other things like underpaying women, and so the voice of the people is always ultimately in charge. That's why we call this a democracy.
Absolutely, and that's why we pick up the phone and call those people that we voted into office, or supposedly nowadays, depending on whether it's paper or electronic. But that's a whole other phone call about elections.
Exactly.
I'm speaking to Judy Collins. Her concert this evening at Memorial Hall, a beautiful venue in Cincinnati. Now, I heard that you try to write something every day.
I try, yes. We're not always successful in that, but I try to write every day. That's where these things come out for me. I keep at it, and then every once in a while I turn up something that turns out to be something I want to sing. And so that's good, but I have to put in the effort. And after all, that's what writing is. It's work. It's not, it takes effort. It takes devotion. It takes time. It takes belief. It takes energy. But it is the answer. Really sincerely to all my problems is to try to work every day.
What's the most recent thing that you can remember having written that you want to share?
Well, I'm working on a couple of things right now. One of the things that I'm doing is preparing a group of songs that I have written myself, which are going to be on an album which I'll record in about a month, I think.
Great.
And that'll be the first album of mine that is all my own work entirely, although I've done something called Voices, which was me and the piano and a lot of my songs. It was a number of years ago. A lot of them were songs that I wrote on the early side of my career. like Since You've Asked and Houses and Secret Gardens. And so now I'm launching into new areas with new songs, including Dreamers. I'll re-record Dreamers, not the version you can get on iTunes right now, but a new version with piano and voice, and me singing it at the piano. So I'm always working. I just actually finished a song that I started at least 3 years ago during the batch of songs I wrote Dreamers in. And, it took me 3 years. Sometimes, I always say, when I first started writing, here's how I started writing. I had already started recording and recording my albums, and it was 1967, and I had recently discovered the great Leonard Cohen, or he discovered me, actually. And after I'd recorded Suzanne and made him famous, according to him, he said to me one day, he called me and he said, "Why aren't you writing your own songs? I don't get it." As a matter of fact, the reason that he came to me with his songs was that everybody else wrote their own songs. Who was he going to take his songs to?
Absolutely,
was he going to go to Bob Dylan and say, "You want to hear my songs?" No.
He could have, but yeah, I see your point.
But
right?
whether anybody would have decided to record Leonard Cohen rather than their own songs, and I'm talking about Bob Dylan and Eric Anderson and Tom Paxton and many writers. So he came to me because he knew that I didn't write songs, and he knew that I'd already had a history of recording Dylan and the great Pete Seeger, etc. Pete Seeger is still in his birthday month, although he would be 100, I think, now.
Oh, wow.
My birthday is the 1st of May. Theodore Bickel was...
Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you. So I'm the 1st of May. Theodore Bickel is the 2nd, and Pete is the 3rd, and we were all managed by Harold Leventhal. So Harold would always have, or quite often, have a triple birthday for all three of us. So we had a good
wonderful
time. What was I going to say that I was so terribly important? I don't know. Anyway, there we are.
That's okay. I wanted to ask you about, in Cincinnati here, we had and it's a project I'm involved with as well. It's in the transgender community. We had somebody named Leila Alcorn take her own life. When you lose somebody to suicide, and that's how Leila was, transgender, a young troubled teen, how do you turn the anger into no more loss of life? Because personally, that story affected me. I grew up in the same geographical area as Leila, and I started the Highway Project where we got, because it kind of it happened on the highway, just to tell you the short story, and I got the litter pickup signs put in the ground to just, how do I not stay angry, and how do I prevent people from dying?
Well, our job as suicide survivors is, number one, not to kill ourselves today. I mean, that's the project. And the method of not killing ourselves for one day at a time is to do with our own mental health, our own journey, our own recovery. We are responsible for our own recoveries, and we have to take the path that is most helpful for us and most helpful to other people. I have found that the most important thing about my own loss is not my own loss. It's how I am able to talk to other people about their losses. So we should never stop talking about it, just as LGBT and all the other problems we have of prejudice and anti-this and anti-that. We have to take for granted the fact that we are going to overcome these prejudices, but we are most concerned with the issue of how we stay on the planet. One of the things we do is take care of the planet and take care of each other and break the taboo. So the more you talk about it, the more you put up the signs, the more you talk to me about this, the better it is, because then people understand that it's not taboo. By the way, I would suggest, as I have been told by many people, to stop saying one committed suicide. It is an action which is made by someone who is ill, and it's not. I think that everybody changes their mind. I think everybody does. I did. I tried to kill myself at 14. I changed my mind. My son changed his mind. I know that because I have his death on tape. I know he did, but he couldn't get out because he had handcuffed himself in his car. He had tried before and changed his mind. So he wanted to make sure. So we all know that most people, I can't speak for everyone, believe me, because I'm not omnipotent. However, the main thing thing is to break the taboo. That's what this is all about. Just as the prejudice against being of an alternative sexual persuasion and the other isms that go on, they're all about human prejudice and human frailty and human weakness and human incapacity to be loving, caring, and understanding. So our job, number one, don't kill myself today. Number two, be loving and compassionate and generous in all ways. And number three, break the taboo by talking about it.
Absolutely. I find that when I do events just with this project, because this story hit Cincinnati hard back in 2014, not that I get a lot of strife or anything, it's just that I find a little bit of hesitation. People don't want to talk about it, and it needs to be talked about. And when you were talking about what is the appropriate thing to say, is it death by suicide, or this person died by suicide?
That's right.
Okay, it's important to get those words correct.
Very important to get our language cleared up.
Yeah, the words matter more than people remember.
So good for you for doing this work. That's wonderful.
Thank you. And I want to have, this is a fun question. Lots of records and lots of albums in your repertoire. Which album art did you love, and which one did you not like so much?
Well, I can't really say about that. I love the artwork that goes into my work. It's really part of what we do when we create something, and I always had great art directors and very imaginative people at Elektra. They learned as they went along that it was important that all the details, that's where I learned to do my craft. All the details are important, every single one of them, from the beginning to the end. Now, I know that a lot of the people that listen to music today are not buying albums per se, although the young people want vinyls. And I want to tell you that two of my most recent albums, including Everybody Knows, which is my album with Stephen Stills, which we made when we were in our 115 concert tour last year and the year before, it is in vinyl. So you can get Everybody Knows with me and Stephen Stills singing together in vinyl or in CDs. And also my Irish album, which I made out of the PBS Irish show that I did at Castle Dromoland in Ireland, that's also in vinyl. And then the in-betweens that are in CD, you can get them all on Amazon or your favorite record store or Barnes & Noble. And you'll notice that all of the albums are carefully thought out in terms of the art direction. And it's something that I take a lot of pride in and I love doing. And I always have ideas and pictures sometimes and quite often notes of some sort. So keep your eye on those things and look carefully at your CDs, because they encase a huge amount of work that was done in your behalf to make this beautiful on all levels.
Is there something you can tell fans about one album about a shoot that you didn't, that some kind of behind the scenes or some kind of interesting fact about one particular album's art? Because I agree with you, it's important to the record, and folks who like vinyl, get a bigger version of the album cover. Is there some kind of nerdy fact that you have that you can share?
Yeah, get your hair done.
Get your hair done.
This is Brant from Cincinnati. You can listen to Out Cincinnati anytime at outcincinnati.com.
You're listening to Out Cincinnati at 91.7 WVXU HD2 Radio Artifact in Cincinnati. Something that has always fascinated me, this festival, the Bunbury Music Festival. I am joined on the phone by Marissa McClellan, the marketing director. Hello, Marissa.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm so excited. We are kind of in the middle of this festival right now here on June 1st. How can folks get down and experience the Bunbury Festival this weekend?
Well, tickets are still on sale, so you can just stop by the box office, pick them up, and head right into the gates.
So it's as simple as that. I know there's a lot of the stages have names, and if you're a newbie, what should newbies be on the lookout for? Is it that simple? Sawyer Point for me, it's such a daunting place, but maybe not.
It's actually not bad as far as festivals go. If you've ever been to kind of like the bigger guys, Bonnaroo's and Lollapaloozas and Coachellas of the world, this one is much easier to navigate. It's basically a mile-long strip with 3 main stages. And my best advice to anybody that's coming down is to download our app before you get there. You can create your own schedule, and you'll get alerts as to when the bands you want to see are playing. And that also has a map on there, and it'll tell you where all the stages are and all that fun stuff.
Right, and I was thinking about it. Sawyer Point is, I guess it is just kind of a long stretch because it is along the river, so there's not really a lot of places to get lost or anything.
Right, if you're in the river, you went too far.
Exactly.
That's basically.
That's what they said the first time I drove to Cleveland. Stop at the water.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Where did the name Bunbury come from? And what's with the B? I mean, that's maybe something everybody knows, but where's that? What's that all about?
So the term Bunbury comes from a phrase that's used in an Oscar Wilde book, and it basically means to come up with an excuse to not do something. So if, like, you don't want to go to your parents' house for the holidays and you're saying, oh, well, I actually have to work over the holidays, that you're Bunburying because you're making it up. But you're trying to get out of what you're supposed to be doing.
Bunbury that homework kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of funny because, festivaling, people take off work to go to festivals every year, and they, probably shirk some commitments to see shows all the time. So it kind of is fitting, I suppose.
And if there are any commitments today on this beautiful Saturday, Bunbury, and using it as a verb, and now I'm working out all the grammar structures in my head of the possibilities of that verb. But to check out the Bunbury Music Festival, it's going on today, and is it in tomorrow, or when does it finish?
Yep, finishes up with the 1975 on the Monster Energy stage tomorrow evening.
That is going to be exciting. We're talking to Marissa McClellan, the marketing director for Bunbury Music Festival. Something one of my friends told me, and you're listening to Out Cincinnati, and I said, okay, I can try. The food trucks, there's always a bunch of food trucks there. Many options, obviously, and the same this year, correct?
That's correct. We have options for everyone. I know there's a lot of dietary needs, restrictions, options out there, so we try to be as accommodating as we can to everyone that's coming to the fest.
And that was the exact question she said was, I can't eat this, and this. And I said, okay, well, I'll try to get an answer. So it sounds like there's something for everyone food truck-wise.
Yeah, we try to be very accommodating, especially when people are there for the whole day. We want, obviously, people to be able to get some sustenance, especially if they're having a few cocktails or beverages. We want everybody to be able to eat and, stay hydrated and stay healthy.
Even if it's not liquor or alcohol, you drink, you stay hydrated. Absolutely, many options.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to know why the festival seemed to go away from the indie rock focus, and when you started having Black Keys, Father John Misty, Matt and Kim, what's the audience? Where's the focus now?
I think the focus, since we at least purchased the festival in late 2014, the focus for us has always been to have a little bit of something for everyone, as opposed to it being such a niche audience. We have 4 venues in Columbus and another venue in Pittsburgh, and all of those venues we try to have a very diverse range of artists so that we can appeal to everybody. Cincinnati is a diverse city, and we want to welcome everybody to come and not just a select few folks. So that's really been our focus since we purchased the fest, was to have headliners that appeal to multiple audiences.
It's perfect. It makes sense to me. It's kind of nice to have something for everybody. And what's the festival website?
It's bunburyfestival.com.
Oh, that is simple, and there's the app. Sounds great. Thank you so much, Marissa. She's the marketing director for Bunbury. This is Out Cincinnati.
My name's Chris. Hello, Melissa.
Hello, Chris.
You're listening to Out Cincinnati on Radio Artifact anytime at outcincinnati.com. I am in the presence of Bonnie and Katie, co-chairs of Northern Kentucky Pride. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
It's great to see you in here for Pride Month. It has been a great month so far.
We're having lots of fun.
Started June 1st. I got my croissant and stuff this morning. That was my June fun so far, but so much more to come. I just realized it's June 1st, although it feels like Pride all the time. Anyways, I wanted to know, what's the theme this year? Because I read it and I'm thinking, if it's the same, I'm just gonna melt. So what is it?
Well, it's Northern Kentucky Pride, and we do use the tagline "Y'all means all," so that carries through every year for at least the last several years. So we use "Y'all means all."
Means all.
Y'all means all.
Y'all means
in
all.
Northern
Okay.
Kentucky and certainly in Covington, where the festival and the parade and many of the events are hosted.
And has it always been y'all means all since?
It has
the beginning?
not. It has
No.
not always been Y'all Means All. It started as just a group of people who wanted to see a Pride Festival come to Covington in Northern Kentucky, and they worked hard and they made it happen. And this is now our 10th festival.
So when did it start? When was the first one, and how has it changed? I mean, just looking at the list of events, I don't know. I'm gonna try to get to all those. It's a lot going on. So how's it? Obviously, it's evolved.
It has evolved, yeah.
Katie,
Sure.
what-
Yeah, the first festival took place in 2010, and it was in Main Strasse, and it actually took place in the fall, and it's always been run all volunteer, and it's evolved from year to year, and for several years in a row we had some really bad weather, but each year we have built upon the momentum from the year before to be where we are in year 10 with a pretty robust program of events, as well as a parade with thousands of people who come to downtown Covington, the festival and the after party, which look quite a bit better than they did 10 years ago.
So is it just one day, or is it a whole week? You know, folks, like, Pride's all month, but then there's one day festivals. So is there a festival? Is there a parade? Both?
So the festival and the parade and the after party are all on Sunday, June 9th, but we do have several programs that led up to that. So we kicked off our Northern Kentucky Pride event on the 25th, May 25th, and that was at Birkus Brewing Company in Ludlow. They have brewed an IPA for us this year. It's the NKY Pride Brew. It is called the Y'all Means All Brew, and they are giving $1 back from every pint of that beer sold throughout the region to Northern Kentucky Pride. So,
Well, that's important. So what's the name of the brewery again?
Birkus, it's BIRCUS, Birkus
Okay.
Brewing Company in Ludlow.
Okay, and I'm sure they're easy to find on.
It's the only combo brewery and circus in the region.
Brewery and circuit. I have got to get over to Ludlow.
You need to get out more often.
Get out Cincinnati more often.
That's right.
My gay dad joke. Okay. Anyway, so May 25th. That sounds like it was a wonderful thing. I want to go get a sixer of that, or however they sell it. So So it's June 1st. What's going on this as we lead up to the 9th? We've got Party on the Street on the 2nd.
On June 1st, we are supporting Pride Night at the Reds. So
that's tonight, okay.
Yes, that is not. It's not an official part of Northern Kentucky Pride at all. But we certainly love the Cincinnati Reds, and we love rainbow baseball caps. So many Northern Kentuckians will be at Pride Night at the Reds. On the 2nd, we have a party in the street, and that is just it's a party for the community between Bar 32 and Rosie's, which are two staples, LGBTQ. Frequented establishments.
Love that place.
So I would just suggest anybody who loves Rosie's or Bar 32 and enjoys celebrating Pride Month about 1 o'clock on that Sunday, tomorrow, the 2nd. And we have lots of really fun surprises.
And Covington is such a cool place to walk around, and I mean, there's so much charm. I have friends there, and it's such a cool place. So get on out to that. And what's going on? There's a dance party on the 3rd. What's that about?
We love the party on the 3rd. This year it's called The Future is Queer. We started this last year. So with the Northern Kentucky Pride Parade, this is the 3rd year for the Pride Parade. Every year we talk with our community members, we talk with our committee, and we have a Grand Marshal. Last year our Grand Marshal was the youth of Northern Kentucky, and so Gay Straight Trans Alliances across Northern Kentucky walked. We celebrated youth, and we started the youth event that's hosted at Lil's Bagels in Covington.
Oh, Lil's Bagels.
So that's June 3rd. So is that like a, let me use the word, a mixer, like a social kind of thing?
Yeah. It's designed for youth.
Okay.
There are some adults there, but really it's very much intended for our younger, maybe college age and younger.
That is such a cool thing, is like the spaces are so limited. It's either a bar or a bar or the bar at TGI Fridays.
Right, and well,
That
that's
was
what
what I was thinking
Lil's
of.
Bagels have been trying to provide a space with the queer
Yeah.
soup, and
Lil's is up to so much good stuff. We talked
And
to
sponsoring
we talked
this,
to
yeah.
Julia and Missy, and so that's a great thing. So that's on the 3rd.
Yes.
And then the 5th, Know Your Status, Health and Wellness in the Queer and Trans Communities.
Was bumped to the 6th,
Okay, that's
just
on
because
the
of
6th.
scheduling
Okay.
issues. And so what's happening on the 6th is our first ever community awards. Katie has the lead on that. So
New Riff. Oh, I love New Riff. Okay. I can just go down the list. Okay,
So
we get
if
some
it,
Lils,
it's
get
not
some
a
New Riff.
bar, it's a distillery.
Okay. Hey, we're in.
So we wanted to, in honor of the 10th anniversary, take a minute to recognize the people in the community who have made all of this possible, but even more than just Pride, who are working every day in our schools as artists, as youth activists, as fairness proponents, just to take a second to tell a broader story and make sure we recognize their work. So we will be honoring 7 different individuals for their work in promoting equity, safety, and inclusion for LGBTQ plus people in Northern Kentucky.
And where is that? Is that open to the public, or is it like where is?
Yeah, it's
okay.
all ages, open to the public, free to attend. The event is from 5 to 8. The award ceremony is from 6 to 7.
Okay, cool. That's it. New Riff, and that sounds like. And then the 7th, there's something, and it seems like the 8th is kind of chill, and then the 9th is party.
we did move our health and wellness event to, it's the after party now. So there's an after party to the community award ceremony, and that is a lot of education, story sharing and telling among members of the queer Black community, conversations around HIV awareness, education, and testing. And we're raising funds and gathering donations for Caracol at that event. That will start at 8 o'clock. It will end at 10, and that's at the Hannaford in Covington.
And that's the one on the date again?
That is on the 6th,
6th.
right after the community awards
Right
ceremony.
after that.
Yep.
Okay, and then the pub crawl is still.
Then the pub crawl.
I was asking about it. I was bugging you about it earlier.
I know,
said
I saw you had your eye on
there's this
that.
Pub crawl. My both of my eyes were on it.
And
on the 7th.
we will continue to roll out the details to the pub crawl all the way up until the day of the pub crawl. But the pub crawl is sponsored by Beer Kiss Brewing. They have a bus, a brewery bus that they will take folks around Northern Kentucky to different establishments that are carrying the Y'all Means All brew. There will be stops in Bellevue, in Newport, in Covington, and then obviously in Ludlow at the brewery.
I hope you'll let Melissa ride. You used to get in a lot of trouble on the bus.
Yeah, I did.
And then, so as soon as I heard that, I was thinking maybe I lost my date for a second. This is Out Cincinnati. We're talking to the co-chairs of Northern Kentucky Pride. There's a lot going on leading up to the event. But my question kind of gets away from Pride. I want to do one of the newlywed.
Yes, I was going to say, what happened to that? Okay, so we're coming back after.
Yeah, are y'all in?
Sure.
Okay, we'll do that on Out Cincinnati. You're listening to Out Cincinnati on Radio Artifact. Bonnie and Katie, thank you so much for being here. Co-chairs of Northern Kentucky Pride. My fun question is, okay, so it's not like Newlywed Game, like where you really can't, you have to get it to match. It's just kind of like, but no changing, obviously.
Okay.
So I'll start with Katie. If you were, at the end of the day, if you were going to shake out Bonnie's outfit, what would be one thing that would fall out at the end of the day of Bonnie's outfit? If you have more than one thing, that's fine. And then the same question for Bonnie, for Katie, and then we'll see.
A variety of ink pens and maybe a pair of reading glasses.
Reading. So now you can, don't be nice. Be nice.
I wear those on my head.
Okay. Well, it depends, I guess, which part of the garden it fell out of. Why do you have them in your feet? I don't know.
I was going with I don't usually have pockets.
Well, that's I said outfit because it could be anything.
Yeah,
that's true.
So
Could be.
Bonnie, what falls out of Katie's clothes?
Well, her phone. which is usually in her back pocket, random change, usually, and nothing really beyond that.
No cat treats or anything.
No.
That's the common answer you get.
I know everyone are very pet friendly people that we interview.
Treats.
It seems, yeah.
If you could pick a guy for your spouse to be married to, so famous or not, who would it be? And it can be any age, it can't be it can be someone who would die in 2 years, but
it could be Chris.
It could be Chris. I picked George Clooney for Chris.
Oh wait, yeah.
That doesn't
George
make
Clooney.
sense. That doesn't follow the rules. So somebody famous or not, who would you stick your spouse with?
Oh man,
I'll give you Barack Obama.
Oh,
there you
go. I was gonna.
She's tall.
I know.
Bonnie's tall.
I was going with Adam Levine.
I would have to fight Katie.
Yeah.
Even though he's kind of a
Adam
tool.
Levine.
But he is nice to look at.
You're also a big Usher fan, so.
Listen.
Usher, he really likes to remember his own name and remind himself.
Usher.
If ever Usher got Alzheimer's, just go back to the old records.
Or is it Ursher?
It's
Ursher. Ursher.
It's Ursher if you're from where my stepdad's from, where they worship.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is Out Cincinnati, off the rails. Where can folks go? Where's the one-stop shop for all of these wonderful events that are really kicking off today with the Reds and continuing?
Everything's posted really in 2 different places. So we have a Facebook page. If you go to Northern Kentucky Fairness, the event page, NKY Pride, Y'all Means All, presented by Equitas Health. You'll find that link there, as well as some of the other events that we have happening over the course of the next week and a half or so. Cool. We also have a website at nkypride.org, and all events are listed there, as well as information about the parade route, official watch spots for the parade on Sunday, and just some shout outs to our sponsors and all of our awesome community partners.
So there's a way to get is there an easy way to get your chairs set up, like a watch spot like that kind of thing?
There are lots of watch spots along the parade route through downtown Covington.
That's cool that they have you just kind of have like areas. And
how early should you save your spot?
Really.
Is this like overnight you save your spot, or just get there a few hours early?
Maybe it depends on what you're looking for, because several of our bars and restaurants along the route offer drink specials, and if you want a good spot outside at one of the watch spots, then you should probably get there a bit early. The parade steps off at 1 o'clock in Covington Landing and heads down Madison Avenue. Turns and goes in front of Braxton, and then we will wind our way down to Main Strasse Village on 6th Street. New this year, we're turning left and going down Main Street a bit, and ultimately we'll end up in front of Bar 32 and Rosie's, which is a new addition this year, and then directly into Goble Park. So folks should definitely check out the Northern Kentucky Fairness page for the various watch spots and information about the parade.
Cool. We'll park my chair in front of the Bourbon Bar.
Yes, and we'll also share this information or links on outcincinnati.com.
Yes, thank you so much, Bonnie and Katie.
Thank you.
Co-chairs Northern Kentucky Pride. This is Out Cincinnati on Radio Artifact. You're listening to Out Cincinnati on 91.7 WVXU HD2 and streaming live at radioartifact.com. Melissa, it's Pride Month.
It is.
It is Pride, yes.
And I'm very excited.
And we are working on acquiring our swag little by little.
That's right.
Very excited to be joined in the studio by, I'm just honored, as I said in the email, to be in the presence of Michael Hoffman and Steve Malloy from the Cincinnati Men's Chorus.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yes, it is.
In the studios here in the rectory of the old St. Pius Church in Northside. With Out Cincinnati. I get a smile on my face every time. I wanted to ask you, the Pride concert, so it's Pride Month, there's a lot going on for Pride. You have a Pride concert every year, correct?
Yes.
So what's going on for this year's Pride concert? Because I've read a little bit and I'm just so intrigued. I have my tickets.
Well, we're the official kickoff to Pride again this year, and this year is also the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall Riots that I think most people know, but it happened on June 28th, 1969 in Greenwich Village, of course, at the Stonewall Inn. So we're presenting our concert for Pride this year, Stonewall Transformations. So the first half is Quiet No More, which is a choral celebration of Stonewall. It's a choral musical suite, co-commissioned by the New York City Gay Men's Chorus and the Gay Men's Chorus of Los Angeles.
I love that. And this is Out Cincinnati. And just to go outcincinnati.com to your CincinnatiMen'sChorus.org, just to be fun.
Okay, no problem.
No, but seriously, this sounds like a great concert. So are there two halves?
There's two halves. So the first
Yes.
half is Quiet No More, which is as I said, the choral musical suite, a celebration of Stonewall. So it goes through the various aspects of Stonewall then and now. And then the second half is the transformation section. The transformation half is about elevating the music and voices from the trans community, and it's all about the power of transformation. So we'll feature some works from trans composers. We even have one in there from our very own accompanist, Evan Surency.
Oh, I've heard of Evan. Somebody said you should listen, it was a music recommendation or one of Evan's songs. So yes, who are the other composers? Just a couple, for the.
Well, there's Marie Isabel Valverde wrote a wonderful piece called Crossing, using poetry by a trans male composer whose name escapes me at the moment. And then we're also doing a medley celebrating the life and songs of Sylvester. If you're going back to the old disco era.
I think I was jamming last night as I was prepping to that song.
You were?
So, and that's not even...
Did you record that?
Did I record that? I think I got on Snapchat at least once on Out. That's wonderful, and is that an interpretation of the
Yeah, it'll be Don't Stop and Dance Disco Heat. No, not Dance Disco Heat. That was the one I wanted, but we're not doing that one. We are doing You Make Me Feel Mighty Real, which is actually Mighty Real. Yeah,
exactly. Okay,
but it's been inserted. Yeah,
I love it. If you don't know what we're talking about right now, Youth of America or just anybody. This is Out Cincinnati, by the way. What is wrong with me today with Out Cincinnati? Anyways, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I keep repeating.
Are you forgetting our show?
I'm forgetting. I'm happy it's Pride Month. I'm just excited to tell people, make sure that you can go on YouTube and type in Sylvester.
Yes.
And find out more about that.
He was outrageous, and he was on an interview with Joan Rivers when she had her talk show way back when. And she says, "What are you, a drag queen?" She says, "I'm not a drag queen. I'm just me. I'm Sylvester."
That's all. I think that when you watch the music video, at least the one that I caught the other night, you don't need to be told more than Sylvester.
That's true.
And that's about it. So how can folks? We're talking to Michael Hoffman and Steve Malloy with the Cincinnati Men's Chorus. These concerts. There's two opportunities. It's June 8th and 9th. Yes. What are the times?
So Saturday, June 8th, it's at 8 p.m. and Sunday, June 9th, it's at 2 p.m. All the performances are at Walnut Hills High School. We keep calling it a community concert. That's marketing speak for it's a free concert. So all you have to do is to reserve your tickets. That's all you're doing is visit the Cincinnati Men's Chorus website. So that's www.cincinnatimenschorus.org. And then above that, you'll see where it says events. And then it still says purchase tickets. But they're, again, free.
Don't believe purchase tickets.
No purchase necessary. Just all you have to do is reserve your seat.
So. The other day, and yes, I reserved. I love that where you can, this is a nerd thing, where you can just select the exact seats you want, and it's a choral concert, so I mean, for me, as long as I can hear. But it's one of those things, I want to be on the aisle. Either way, they are complimentary, those tickets for, and this is the Pride concert that's every year for with the Cincinnati Men's Chorus. I want to hear more about the first half of the Stonewall, the 50 years. It's such an important anniversary for people who don't know. We referenced it earlier. For people who don't know what Stonewall is, what exactly happened and where, and obviously it's important to remember. But why in 2019? I mean, that's 50 years ago. Who cares, right? But not really, obviously. But why is it important to remember?
Well, I mean, if you look back at the GLBTQIA community back then, we were kind of segmented. even more segmented than we are now. And bars were kind of a tricky, sneaky matter if you wanted to go out. And the thing about the Stonewall Inn, it was owned by some guy who was probably, affiliated with some, mob family. He was paying under the table. The drinks were watered down, but at the time it was the only place where you could dance. It's like you could get on the floor with somebody and actually hold them close. The music was provided by a jukebox, but, if you wanted to get down and boogie, that was the place you went. Now, Stonewall Riots was approximately, that night was, 1 or 2 nights after Judy Garland's death?
I think it was after her memorial service.
After her memorial service.
That day her memorial service had been.
So that's why a lot of times the Stonewall Riots are associated with Judy Garland. And back then, bars would be raided all the time. You never knew. All of a sudden you'd hear police sirens, the lights would flash, everybody stop what you were doing, get in a line. Either they would set you out, or if your clothing didn't exactly match what supposed sex you were, they would basically fill you up, and if they didn't like what they see, they'd put you in the paddy wagon.
Did it happen once, often, or was it like, okay, the cops are here again, we know we need to line up, and we know we're going to get touched or felt, and if something doesn't
and there was
match.
Brutality in that a lot of times. So it wasn't like, hey, come on, let's get in the paddy wagon. It's
it was
very violent.
Exactly. And 9 times out of 10 before this, all the times before this, the crowds would just disperse. So the unusual thing to begin with was the fact the crowds just stayed outside, which was unusual in and of itself. And as you said, it was brutal. It was not just your typical, today maybe, typical police arrest. It was targeted. It was brutal, I think is the best word for it. And the worst of it was geared towards transgender people, as Steve said. So if you looked a bit different, if you looked passing, I guess would be the word now, or just okay, they might just leave you alone. But literally, if you just looked a bit different, and especially trans people, they got the worst of it.
Well, I mean, there are nights when I'll go out to the bar, and I don't know, it could be interpreted as femme if I comb my hair a certain way, or I don't know, I like to wear Chanel No. 5 occasionally.
Me too.
That's my layer set today before I added, I'm just saying. So what was, a lot of this happened several times. You get arrested, you get lined up. What was the straw that...
It was just, we had enough. I don't know if it was the fact it was Judy Garland's memorial service earlier that day. It was just people, one of the pieces says that they were putting a woman into the backseat of a cop car, and she screams out, well, why doesn't someone do something? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, someone threw a brick. A brick.
Well, my landscaper threw a brick. You're good. Threw a brick.
And that kind of started the whole uprising. That started the riot. And people, go ahead.
Well, and then, the police were not used to this sort of thing. So once that started, I think the whole crowd started to react, started to rush the police. There was a barricade of sorts around it, and the police didn't know what to do. So they ended up running back into the bar, which probably wasn't the smartest thing they could have done. So they got barricaded themselves into the bar, which then at some point, not real clear how, but as this riot is starting and going on, they set fire to that bar. Now, police backup showed up in time to put out the fire, rescue the police, and finally disperse the crowd. But that was, people showed up the next night and the next night. So this went on for a good week afterwards of people showing up. And then, of course, the Gay Pride Parade that we all know today started 1 year later. They gathered for that.
New York Pride.
Yes.
Okay, so I've read, and I'm learning that the creation of the New York Pride, which is such a pinnacle, like that's the one people want to go to, was after that. And so, what is Stonewall? Is Stonewall still a place?
Yes.
It's now a museum.
Is there a bar there still?
Yes.
So you can go to New York City. You can go to Stonewall. You can
Is Stonewall in?
have that. It would be. Have you had a drink there since?
I've passed it by several times. I've never had a drink there.
I just wonder what, for folks who lived in that era, what that could be like to be back in there. And I think it would be neat to be in that location. Just all the history there, unfortunate history.
Mm-hmm.
Where can folks? We're talking to Michael Hoffman and Steve Malloy from the Cincinnati Men's Chorus. A pair of concerts, 2 opportunities to see June 8th and June 9th. More information, we'll link it at outcincinnati.com. And I wanted to ask, where can folks find more information about Stonewall, the history? I know there's a lot of projects, museum openings, galleries. What's a good resource aside from Wikipedia,
Actually, the New York Public Library has just done a whole thing on New York Pride and on pictures from Stonewall and just a burgeoning gay pride movement. So if you do a search for the New York Public Library.
Yeah, we'll
and
find...
those you can access now through your local library and get the information through the New York Public Library. You can go to their site. Yeah, so you can go just to their site on your mobile and pull it up, and you can get items to view or read from the New York Public Library now.
So New York Public Library.
Everybody.
What's the exhibit called?
Anywhere.
Specific?
That I do not know.
We'll have it on outcincinnati.com on our social media, of course, because that is a history lesson, Stonewall, that you could just read and read and read, and it's something that you both know if we don't remember, we're going to repeat it.
Yes.
Especially in this day and age with some of the scary.
You want to go to nypl.org.
nypl.org for the New York Public Library for some great history about Stonewall. I want to thank you both, Steve and Michael, for being here. It's been great. I'm a huge fan of choral music, although I can't string together 2 notes. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The Cincinnati Men's Chorus, June 8th and 9th. More information. What is the website?
So www.cincinnatimenschorus.org.
cincinnatimenschorus.org. Do not be dismayed. It will say purchase, but they are free tickets. Get on out there, folks, and enjoy the arts. It's a complimentary show. I'll be there in my big weird hat.
I'll be there in rainbows.
In rainbows, okay.
It's a good show. I hope to see you out there.
Thank you so much. This is Out Cincinnati on 91.7 FM HD2 WVXU in Cincinnati, and anytime at outcincinnati.com.